Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mini Books Podcast with your host Gloria and Rogan, and today we are excited to dive into Special Book with You. We picked this one because it has really important lessons to share and we can't wait to talk about them. So let's get started. All right, buckle up because today we're taking a deep dive into Stoicism.
Oh, Stoicism.
But not the kind you see on inspirational posters.
Right.
We're going way beyond just keep a stiff upper lip and really digging into the practicality of it all.
Yeah.
What can we use from this ancient philosophy to deal with our modern lives?
Exactly.
And luckily for us,
yeah,
the Daily Stoic is going to be our guide.
it's such a good one.
It is. It's so good.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about this book is it
Wow.
shows how these big historical figures, emperors, soldiers, playwrights,
Yeah.
they all use Stoicism, not just as this abstract thing,
Right.
but as a way to navigate their problems.
Well, totally.
Just like we're trying to navigate ours.
Yeah, and they're very similar, even though they lived a long time ago.
Exactly. It's like Stoicism was their secret weapon,
Totally. It's like an operating system
Oh,
almost.
yes. Okay, so let's talk about some of these principles, because I think there's this misconception of Stoicism that it's about being emotionless,
Right.
which is just not true.
Not at all.
And the Daily Stoic does a really good job at breaking that down.
It does, yeah.
So where do we even begin? What's a good starting point when we're talking about Stoicism?
Well, I think one of the core principles, and it's a good one to start with, is this idea of focusing on what you can control.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think so much of our modern anxieties stem from...
Oh, tell me about it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with information and everything feels like it's urgent.
And everyone else is doing amazing things.
Exactly. Comparison is...
My life is just a mess.
It's the thief of joy.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
And so Stoicism, I think, offers a really good framework for managing those pressures.
Yeah.
Because it starts with this idea of what can you actually control?
Okay, I was going to say, that's something we hear all the time, right?
We do, yeah.
But it's how do I actually do that?
Yeah, I think where the Daily Stoic is really helpful is it goes beyond just saying, focus on what you can control, and it really dives into the why.
Okay, the why.
Because when you understand that, the how becomes so much easier.
Oh, okay.
So the Stoics were really onto something.
Yeah.
They understood that it's not actually events themselves that cause us to suffer,
Okay.
but our judgments about those events.
Oh, interesting.
So, for example, let's say you're stuck in traffic.
The worst.
The worst.
That's right.
Right. So the traffic jam itself, that's a neutral event.
Okay.
It's our thoughts about it.
"Ugh, this is terrible. I'm never going to get there.
As always happens to me.
I should have left earlier."
Yes, all of those thoughts.
Yeah.
Those are what create the negative emotional experience.
Okay, so it's not the traffic, it's my reaction to the traffic.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's where we have the power.
So how do we shift that?
It's about recognizing that we can't control the traffic.
Right.
We can't control the weather. We can't control other people.
Other people.
Right. But we can control our own thoughts, our emotions, our reactions.
I mean, that's easier said than done, but...
It is. It takes practice.
Yeah.
But that's where the freedom lies.
Okay, so it's about mastering our minds.
Yeah.
So we can navigate these situations with more, grace, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And speaking of navigating tough situations, I have to bring up the story of James Stockdale.
Oh, Admiral Stockdale.
The Daily Stoic talks about him.
He does, yeah. He's like the embodiment of this.
Because, for anyone who doesn't know, he was a prisoner of war in Vietnam.
For 7.5 years.
7.5 years.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Unimaginable.
And he credits Stoicism with his survival.
He does, yeah.
And it's mind-blowing to me.
It's an incredible story.
It is, because he refused to let his captors control his mind.
Right.
And he did that by focusing on what he could control, which was his internal world.
Yeah, his response to his captivity.
And I was just blown away reading about, he would even injure himself to prove his spirit wouldn't be broken.
I know, it's intense.
It's next level mental fortitude.
It is, yeah.
And I think what's remarkable about that story is it shows that Stoicism isn't about suppressing your emotions.
Right.
He wasn't this robot.
Right.
He still felt everything, but he chose how to respond.
He chose his response.
And that's what's so powerful about it.
It is, yeah. It's about recognizing that you have that power.
Yeah, and that's something we can all do, right?
Absolutely.
We may not be facing a POW camp, but
you're facing your own battles.
we are. We're facing deadlines, difficult conversations,
Bills.
kids,
Yes.
all the things.
So it's about taking a beat, recognizing what you can and can't control, and then choosing that response.
Yeah.
I'm already, like, feeling calmer just thinking about it.
That's a good feeling, right?
It is. It is.
It takes practice.
Oh, for sure.
But it's a practice worth cultivating. And that brings us to another really interesting tool that I think, we don't often associate with Stoicism, but the Daily Stoic really highlights it.
Okay.
And that's the power of saying no.
Oh, the art of the no.
The art of the no.
That's huge.
And it's not just about, like, getting out of that fourth meeting, although I do love saying no to meetings.
Right, right.
But it's about protecting your energy, your time.
Yes, your most valuable resources.
I love that, protecting your resources. Sorry to interrupt you guys. If you're enjoying this podcast, then don't forget to check out our official YouTube channel, Mini Books Podcast, and subscribe for more great podcasts like this one.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you say no to something,
Yeah.
you're actually saying yes to something else.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think the Stoics called it prokisis.
Prokisis, yes.
Acting with intention, like
Yes.
aligning your actions with what you actually care about.
It's about living in alignment with your values.
Yes. Okay, see, this is why I love this deep dive stuff.
Me too.
Because it's like I've always struggled with saying no.
Right.
I feel this pressure to be everything to everyone.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And this idea that, like, by saying no, I'm actually taking care of myself.
Yes.
It's revolutionary.
It's self-care.
It is self-care.
It is.
It's like giving myself permission to not be everything to everyone.
You're giving yourself permission to be everything to yourself.
Yes.
Which then allows you to show up better for the people that you do want to show up for.
That is so good.
Right.
I'm writing that down. I need that on a Post-it note.
Yes.
Okay. So much good stuff here.
I know, right?
But we're just getting started.
We're just scratching the surface.
This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Stoicism.
This is.
But don't worry, we'll be diving into even more practical wisdom
We've got you covered.
after a quick break.
Stay with us.
It's funny, when I think about Stoicism, saying no isn't really the first thing that comes to mind.
Right.
You think more like enduring hardship, right?
Yeah.
But this idea of being intentional, like actually saying no to things to protect your time and energy.
It's huge.
It's almost like an act of rebellion
It is.
against all the chaos
Yeah.
of, like, being alive today.
Absolutely.
And you know what else the Daily Stoic talks about that I think goes hand in hand with this?
What's that?
This idea of turning obstacles upside down.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
Because it's not about pretending like the hard things aren't happening.
Right.
It's about, like, how can I find an opportunity in this?
Exactly. Exactly.
Which, again,
Easier said than done.
easier said than done, right?
Right.
But how do we actually do that?
Yeah. So the Stoics were really good at this idea of reframing.
Okay.
So they understood that, again, you can't always control what happens to you,
Right.
but you can control how you view it.
Give me an example.
Okay, so remember that traffic jam we were talking about?
The worst.
Instead of getting frustrated, what if you use that time to listen to a podcast,
Okay.
to practice some mindfulness, or just enjoy a few minutes of peace?
Okay, I like that. But what about when it's more than traffic?
Yeah.
What about when it's like a real problem?
That's when it becomes even more important.
Okay.
The Daily Stoic actually talks about Alexander the Great and how some kings offered him portions of their land.
Right. In exchange for peace.
Right, and he was basically like, I didn't cross all of Asia for leftovers.
Right. Like, I came here to do something big.
Exactly.
I love that.
And I think for most of us, we're not out there conquering empires.
Right.
But we have goals.
We do.
And we have things that we want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I think approaching those things with that same mindset
Oh, that's good.
of, I'm not here for scraps, I'm going for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And viewing those obstacles as opportunities to refine our strategy,
Okay.
to maybe strengthen our resolve.
So it's like those setbacks.
Yeah.
Those are just feedback.
They're information.
Yeah.
They're part of the process.
Okay. So it's not failure.
It's not failure.
It's just like part of getting to where I want to go.
Exactly.
Okay. Sign me up.
Right. Obstacles as opportunities.
Yes.
Let's go.
Oh, I love it.
You know what else really struck me about the Daily Stoic?
What's that?
This big emphasis on virtue,
Oh, yeah.
which I think sometimes gets lost.
It does. It does.
In like those more, I don't know, like
surface level.
surface level interpretations of Stoicism.
Totally.
Or it's just like, sucked up.
Right.
But there's this whole other piece about virtue. And I think the Daily Stoic does a really good job.
Highlighting it.
Yeah. Bringing that to the forefront.
Because it's not just about enduring life. It's about living a good life.
Okay, so how do we do that?
So, the Stoics believed that virtue was the sole good.
Living in accordance with nature meant aligning yourself with these virtues, you know, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance.
Okay, I can see how some people might be like, well, that sounds great, but what does that actually look like
Right.
in my day-to-day life?
Totally. And I think it comes down to making choices from a place of integrity,
Okay.
treating others with fairness and respect, having the courage to do what's right, even when it's hard.
Right.
It's about cultivating these inner qualities
Yeah.
that make you a better person.
So it's not just about being like, nice.
No,
To like get what you want.
it's not about appearances.
Yeah.
It's about genuinely striving to be good.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Because that ties back into like what we were talking about
It
with controlling your reactions.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So the Stoics understood that while you can't always control what happens to you,
Right.
you can control how you respond.
We keep coming back to that.
Right. So we can choose kindness over anger, patience over frustration.
And that brings us to this concept of living in accordance with nature, which I have to admit, this
Yeah.
is the one that I'm always just like, I don't really get it.
I know it can seem very like
Abstract?
abstract,
Yeah.
but it's a really important concept.
Oh.
So the Stoics observed that the universe operates according to a certain order, right?
Okay.
A logos.
Okay.
And so to live in accordance with nature meant accepting that order.
Okay, so not trying to like force my own will on things.
Yeah, not resisting it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
working with it.
But isn't there a danger in that, though, of becoming passive?
That's a great question. And I think that's where the nuance of Stoicism is often missed.
Okay.
Because accepting what is doesn't mean that you just like resign yourself to whatever happens. It's about recognizing what's outside of your control.
Oh, okay.
Like, a traffic jam,
Right.
a sudden storm, even a loss.
Right.
And then choosing to focus your energy on what you can influence.
Which is my reaction.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Your thoughts, your actions.
So it's about finding that balance between acceptance and action,
Exactly.
not denying what's happening,
Yeah,
but also not being like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so I'm just going to sit here.
exactly.
Okay.
And so the Stoics believe that acceptance, that alignment with the natural order of things
Okay.
was the key to finding true peace and tranquility.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because we're so used to fighting against change.
Right. And uncertainty,
Yes,
which like we're surrounded by it.
we are. Yeah, it's everywhere.
So it's like, what if we could actually lean into that?
What if we could embrace it?
Yeah.
That's what they're suggesting.
Instead of just being afraid of it all the time.
Exactly.
It's so funny, though, because like
Yeah,
knowing all this, it's not like I'm not still going to get frustrated
of course.
or overwhelmed,
Totally. We're all human.
And actually, the Daily Stoic talks about how Marcus Aurelius,
I love him.
this like Roman emperor,
Yeah.
he would literally have to write himself notes
Yes.
to be like, remember to practice Stoicism.
I love that. And it's just like,
It's so relatable.
it's so relatable.
It is.
This is the Emperor of Rome. I know. And he's still struggling
He's still struggling.
with the same human stuff that we are.
Yeah,
It's very reassuring. And I think that's such a powerful message.
it is.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's
yeah.
about just showing up every day
Yeah.
and trying to be a little bit better,
Yeah.
a little bit wiser.
A little more stoic,
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I thought.
And speaking of wisdom,
Yes.
one of my favorite quotes from the Daily Stoic is this: difficulties show a person's character.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's so good.
It's so true.
Oh, it is.
Because it's like we can talk about being virtuous and resilient and all these things,
Right.
but then like life happens.
Life happens.
And you see what you're really made of.
You do.
And that's where the Stoic principles,
Yes.
they really come in handy.
It's true. And I think that's what's so great about Stoicism. It doesn't promise you an easy life,
Right.
but it gives you the tools to navigate the ups and downs
Yeah.
with grace and resilience,
With purpose, even.
with purpose and even joy.
Yeah.
It's like, bring it on.
Yeah, exactly.
I can handle it.
I love that.
And the best part is you don't have to become a Stoic scholar overnight.
Right. You don't have to read all the books.
You don't have to memorize Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah. No one's expecting that.
Just pick one thing
Yeah.
that resonates with you.
What speaks to you?
Exactly. And try applying that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's focusing on your reaction.
Yeah.
Maybe it's saying no more.
Yeah. What you can control, those kinds of things.
Totally.
That's such a good takeaway.
And make it a practice.
Yeah.
Because the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
It's like anything, right?
It is.
It's like building a muscle. You
Exactly.
gotta work it out.
So to our listener out there,
Yes. Hello?
if you're interested in learning more about Stoicism,
Yeah. which clearly you are if you're still listening,
You're in the right place.
definitely check out The Daily Stoic.
Such a good book. So accessible.
It really is. I mean, I feel like we've said it a million times.
It's true, though.
But it's true. It's so readable.
It is.
And it really breaks down these complex ideas into bite-sized pieces
Which is what we all need.
that you can actually use in your everyday life.
Yes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Ooh, I like that, wrapping it up.
I know we should come up with a better sign-off, but
Next time,
next time
we'll workshop it.
we'll workshop it.
But for now,
Yes.
remember that Stoicism isn't about being perfect. It's about progress.
It's about showing up every day
Yes.
and trying your best.
And remembering that you have the power to choose how you respond to whatever life throws your way.
And that is a very stoic note to end on.
I think so, too.
So, until next time.
Stay stoked.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to dive into more book insights and key learnings, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Mini Books Podcast, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We're back every Sunday at 9 a.m. with new books and more to learn from. Until next time, take care, keep learning, and keep growing. Remember, this is Mini Books Podcast.